Today on Bench Briefs, we're looking at a recent Supreme Court of Canada decision that tackles important questions about how evidence is handled in criminal trials. The case RVJW, decided in May 2025, shines a spotlight on the delicate balance between protecting the rights of the accused and ensuring that justice is served. At the heart of this case is JW, who was charged with criminal offenses following an alleged assault. The events that led to these charges involved a physical confrontation, but the case quickly became about much more than just what happened that night. Instead, the focus shifted to how the evidence was collected, how it was handled by the police and the courts, and whether the procedural safeguards designed to protect fair trial rights were properly followed. So, what actually happened? The Crown's case relied on several pieces of evidence collected by law enforcement. This included witness statements, physical evidence from the scene, and other materials gathered during the investigation. However, JW's defense challenged the admissibility of some of this evidence, arguing that it was either irrelevant, unreliable, or obtained in a way that violated constitutional protections under the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. More specifically, the defense raised concerns about whether the evidence was gathered in a manner that respected JW's rights against unreasonable search and seizure, and whether the trial judge properly applied the legal standards when deciding what evidence could be presented to the jury. The case also called into question how the trial court assessed the credibility of witnesses and whether the evidence was sufficient to support a conviction beyond a reasonable doubt. The Supreme Court's job was to carefully review these issues and provide clarity on two main points. First, was the evidence in question properly admitted at trial? This meant looking at whether the evidence was relevant to the case, whether it was reliable, and whether it was collected in a way that respected JW's charter rights. Second, did the trial judge correctly apply the necessary procedural safeguards and legal standards when evaluating the witnesses and the overall strength of the evidence? In its decision, the Supreme Court emphasized the critical role that procedural fairness plays in criminal trials. The court underscored that while it is important to admit evidence that helps get to the truth, this must never come at the expense of fundamental rights. The court carefully examined the steps taken by law enforcement and the trial court, ultimately concluding that some evidence had been admitted without proper regard for these protections. One of the key takeaways from the ruling is the court's reminder that judges must be vigilant in ensuring that evidence meets strict standards before it is presented to a jury. This includes a thorough assessment of how the evidence was obtained and whether admitting it would undermine the fairness of the trial. The court also highlighted the importance of properly scrutinizing witness credibility, especially in cases where the evidence is contested or complicated. Why does this case matter? RVJW serves as an important reaffirmation of the constitutional safeguards that protect individuals in the criminal justice system. It reminds everyone involved, from police officers to judges to lawyers, that respecting these protections is essential to maintaining public confidence in the fairness and integrity of our courts. The decision also provides clear guidance on how courts should approach evidence admissibility and procedural safeguards moving forward. For anyone interested in criminal law or the Charter, this case is a must-know because it balances the need to hold people accountable for serious offenses with the necessity of upholding fundamental rights. It underscores that justice is not just about convicting the guilty, but doing so through processes that are fair, transparent, and respectful of legal protections. Thanks for listening to this episode of Bench Briefs. Be sure to join us next time as we explore another case shaping the Canadian legal landscape. Until then, take care.